I make a lot of crocheted stuff, lots of garments, but lots of gloves. I have a bunch more of these sort of long, tendrily gloves. Being able to make a garment, it has all this space to re-relate to your body in this way that is like explicitly for fun or explicitly for like enhancing movement. And I really like that. Hi, my name's Jem. I'm an intermediate and textile artist based in Chibukduk, so-called Halifax, Nova Scotia. So my workspace is in my bedroom, and I also have access to studio space at school. But yeah, I've got this big table that I used to sew on. The other stuff in my room is kind of just sort of things that I've collected, gifts from friends, or like a lot of little salt and pepper shakers and little objects and rocks, and really are nice to have around me as I'm making, just for thinking about like aesthetic inspirations and the people that matter to me. So I would say a good example of my practice was my grad show, which I had really recently in October. The most early work that I have in there is called Devotional Portraits of Strangers. It's an embroidery piece with accompanying machine embroidery piece. And it kind of combines text and textiles in a way that I think I have a really big attachment to. I think with my participatory work, it's designed to really encourage people explicitly to engage in touch. Textiles traditionally have been for that, and I think it kind of removes their agency to put them in this vacuum of not being able to be touched. And I think to create that relationship, you kind of have to give people rules to follow. So one of the pieces was called Guess Who, and it was this play on the game Guess Who. I really like working in context of like a pre-existing structure, like a game and a set of instructions to be able to engage with work that I think kind of removes this barrier of like, am I engaging with work correctly? Am I doing this right? The other pieces in that show included a form that I wrote called Application Form, and it was kind of like getting into just sort of these constraints of trying to fill out government forms. But it was kind of silly, you know, the questions are ridiculous. I think at one point I asked people if they have a crush on me, which of course I wanted to know. Some people said no, I respect that. Some people made new boxes. I asked people if they were afraid of being lonely. I asked people what their favorite sex position was. Some people totally did not like the forums. A couple people wrote in the margins that it was a waste of their time, and I've got to take that too. Yeah, I also do a lot of woven, like just scarves and garments and a lot of ceramic stuff. But honestly, the ceramics are kind of more of an extension of my illustrative practice. I took a ceramics class and it was really fun, but I'm not like the most clean ceramicist. I wouldn't claim that I'm a ceramicist. But yeah, the other part of my practice is sort of illustrative. I love doing storytelling through comics, and I really just like drawing and painting with gouache paint. I think gouache paint is a really good tool to work through just kind of flat drawings in a way that I think are great for design work, for fashion stuff or textile stuff, but are also really just good for creating these really brightly colored, cartoony illustrations. So currently I'm making this body of work that is really inspired by sort of Las Vegas residency wear from the 70s and the 60s up to now, but more specifically just thinking about Bob Mackie kind of showgirls outfits, how he described working with Elton John as like working with a male showgirl was something that was really interesting to me and really inspirational in terms of the way that I'm designing menswear. I think having this sort of disarming power dressing in the sense of like dressing like Austin Powers, dressing like really cartoony, dressing really bright in order to make, again, people feel comfortable and to entertain. I really love that I've been able to do this learning where I can draft a pattern, weave the fabric, sew it all together, and make something really from the ground up in this way that it all comes from these materials that I've worked with. It's laborious, but it also provides this space to work with like different bodies and different stylistic choices instead of having to like work with these really narrow pattern designs that are for like cisgender bodies and like really skinny people exclusively. Being able to move away from that and have that kind of autonomy is really great. And I'm really grateful to have that kind of skill at this point.